Well, that verdict reached by a panel of 7 men and 5 women. They deliberated for 14 hours and found Bill Cosby guilty on all counts. The comedian, an entertainer known around the world, now a criminal.
Bill Cosby, 3 words for you: guilty, guilty, guilty.
Bill Cosby, the man who for decades made Americans laugh, now guilty of drugging and molesting Andrea Constant. The assault happening at Cosby's Philadelphia home in 2004. The verdict came after a 2-week retrial in Norristown, Pennsylvania. The difference this go-round was that jurors were allowed to hear from other Cosby accusers who testified that Cosby also drugged and violated them. One of them, Lily Bernard, who appeared on The Cosby Show, broke down when the verdict was read.
A victory for womanhood, and it is a victory for all sexual assault survivors, female and male.
More than 60 women have said the former TV star drugged and molested them, the earliest reports dating back 5 decades. Many more women coming forward as the Me Too movement gained momentum. Cosby's lawyers slammed that movement, calling it a mob mentality and calling the defendant a pathological liar. But the prosecution called Cosby a con man who used his reputation as America's dad to manipulate his victims.
He used his celebrity. He used his wealth, he used his network of supporters to help him conceal his crimes. And now we really know today who was behind that act, who the real Bill Cosby was.
Cosby's team planning to appeal.
We don't think Mr. Cosby's guilty of anything, and the fight is not over. Thank you.
Andrea Constant did not speak after the trial, but the lawyer representing 33 other accusers put it this way.
And I'm the happiest I have been about any court decision in 42 years.
Now, Bill Cosby remains free on bail. He could face 30 years in prison, 10 years for each count. That means the 80-year-old could spend the rest of his life in prison. Bill?
Lauren, thank you. Meanwhile, what a scene inside and outside the court when the verdict was read. Cosby himself visibly shaken, but his eyes open in a way they have not been for a while.
He did have one giant outburst that happened in court. ABC's Lindsay Davis was there. She's live from Norristown, Pennsylvania. Good evening.
Good evening to you, Bill and Michelle. I think it's fair to say that there was shock from both sides, and I've even talked to people who wanted this outcome. They wanted to get the guilty verdict, and they say they didn't think that this was going to happen. As a result, you heard it. It was palpable inside the courtroom. There were people, many of the Cosby accusers, who were crying, sobbing so hard they actually had to leave the courtroom. They were escorted out by security. And then you had Bill Cosby. When they said count 1 guilty, his head immediately dropped. By the time they said count 2 and count 3 guilty, his whole upper body seemed to fold down on top of his lap. Again, I just think that there was shock from his side, but he did curse at the district attorney when the district attorney was trying to convince the judge that he needed to be remanded to jail immediately. By the time Cosby emerged from the courthouse, he did raise his cane in response to some supporters who were still cheering, "We love you, Bill." And then at the same time, we heard people calling him a rapist. But again, his defense team vowing to appeal.